Well, you're still watching the AM show. We'll take you live to the Independence Square or the Black Star Square in Accra. As already we have it from our correspondents that parents, scores of them, have converged there because of concerns they have with placement of their wards who had just completed the junior high school and had to be placed into various schools for senior high schools. Well, we'll bring you all the latest update. But in the meantime, let's bring to you what the latest traffic watch is. And you can always get all the latest updates as far as traffic is related throughout the rest of the day on traffic.com.gh. And you can see what the scenario is this morning. And you can also look at the current trend of traffic. And you can see that for those who are going from the Kwame Nkrumah interchange area heading towards Kanda and subsequently the Akwaje area and Dankwa also, it seems to be building up, but more free if you're coming from Kanda heading towards Circle, as we call it in the parlance. But we'll go to the next phase. And the next route we're looking at is the Tema end of the Accra-Tema motorway. And we know that the construction is ongoing. It's the extension of the expansion of the Tema port, and subsequently it's a normal Monday morning, but doesn't look busy, something that usually would not characterize this morning. But there's just a bit of build-up, especially for those who are coming from the Pram area, and before them would have come in from Chopoli or Dawa, and many of them heading to Accra or want to get into the city of Tema. But if you're heading to Accra, it means that you would want ultimately to join the Tema Accra motorway, and you can quickly just move out before it builds up before the end of the R7. Now let's go to Airport City. Is where we have the lenses there, and this one is a bit blurred because of the lenses, but it's overlooking the airport shell area. The traffic is moving. It's free this morning, so you can try as much as possible to go through that section after the roundabout heading into the airport if you're coming from the Spintex Road or you're coming from the Tetekwashi area and you just want to have a detour going through Elwak, etc. Now let's take you to the, well, Oxford Street. We don't seem to have the feed there, but I guess that'll be the wrap-up of it for this morning. But make sure that throughout the rest of the day, you're up to date on what your route should be for traffic. It's very easy for you to link up with the portal, traffic.com.gh, and you get all the relevant routes you need for a bypass. And again, I have to inform you that we're getting reports that scores of parents who have had their wards completing junior high school, the results of their BECE is already in. They need placement, don't have the schools that they need, and so currently have converged at the Black Star Square here in Accra. But let me join the team. Let's do the newspapers. And good morning to Mama V. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. I'm good. How are you?
Chalade.
Nice. So, you know, the parents about the placements.
Yeah.
There are people who are changing schools.
Okay.
So they have been placed, but they don't like where they've been placed. It's
right.
Either you talked about a girl being taken to a boys' school, or they've been taken to a place where there's no accommodation, something like that, and they want to change. Yeah. There are others who simply have also not been placed
at all.
Yeah.
So several problems being addressed this morning by this secretariat that they've set up at the Black Star Square. But it's starting to look chaotic because there are people who arrived over the weekend to make sure that they can be seen to first. Parents, you know,
so they came to
their
queue.
Wards. Indeed. So it's starting to get crazy. You can well imagine. I mean, the number of taxis that are parked there.
Shouldn't this be? Shouldn't we be solving this? I mean, should we continuously see this happen?
No.
Can't we have a placements
without
that
trouble?
Will not be characterized by all these things, because it looks like this is to be expected every year, really.
Well, definitely. You know, I I think on Saturday or Friday, I had a deputy director of the Ghana Education Service who is responsible, I think, for this. And he was saying that, for example, you have Wegehe, they have over 5,000 students who have had either 6-1s or more than 6-1s, have high scores, or maybe have 7, etc., and they all chose Wege. But the places that are there for admission are just between 400 and something and 500, and so they have to. I don't know. I'm thinking if everybody is from a rural community or a community, whether they're closer to Wege or not, and they want to have that school, I think sometimes we need to have a policy in which we expand the schools rather, which will expand facilities at the schools so that they can take more. And I think it will resolve many of the problems that we have. Instead of building a community school for every community, why don't you expand Infantipim or Gaston or Mauli School?
Because there are a lot more people who choose those schools anyway.
Because we have created a situation in which we think that if the school is what it is, because of the vibrancy of the Old Boys Association and the kind of influence they have, everybody wants to choose there.
Well, I mean, the truth is, what the plan that existed to build these community schools, if you look at the capacity they were seeking to achieve, it was like 200 and something. How many schools were targeted? I don't know how we would add those onto our existing schools, unless what we would do is that we would have to designate preferred schools for every region, and then we would be able to designate 200 of them or whatever, and then go and build these sort of e-block things in these particular schools, you know, so that if I'm in Tamale and I want to go to Tamale SHS, there'll be space there for me, you know. Or but then again, if I'm in Tamale, why can't I go to Oga School, you know, or why can't I go to Infantipim? It's a tough one.
Some way.
The parents are really struggling. Yeah. If you see how they are queued up at the Black Star Square, it's crazy. It's like there's a rally going on. Yeah. But these are just people trying to solve problems. So that's the number of problems that the system has spat out. And you know, you asked that question, why do we have this problem every year? Have you not noticed that in Ghana, annual problems never get solved?
No.
You know why?
They actually compound each year.
You know why? A friend of mine has bunions. You know bunions. These growths on the side of your toe. Very painful. But the pain comes and goes. Now, a bunion can be fixed with a very simple surgery. But because the pain comes and goes, when she's in pain in the middle of the night, she can't bear it. But by morning, the pain is gone. So getting up to go and book an appointment to get the bunion fixed never happens until the pain comes back again. That's what Ghana is like. While we are in pain, we feel it. But the pain will go. Very soon, everybody will be settled in school. And then the people whose job it is to prevent this from happening next year go to sleep. Earn salary for 11 months until next year when the problem comes back. Then they'll be running around like headless chickens and we'll be reporting it again.
There's a related story to this, which is being captured on myjournline.com. It's actually a tragedy.
Wow.
Related to, it's a JHS graduate committing suicide over school choice.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Goodness.
A bit of that story on myjournline.com. It says a 15-year-old junior high school graduate has committed suicide by hanging at Akona Asafo in the Ghana East District of the Central Region for not getting his school of choice. Isaac Ahin, affectionately called Yao, completed school in Tema and obtained aggregate 20, but the computer selection school placement system placed him at Kwewutafo in the Eastern Region. According to family spokesperson, selected school in the Central Region, but instead he was placed in Eastern. Family complained of no money to purchase a few items he needed to enable him attend school. A sister of the deceased, Georgina Boabeng, who narrated the sad incident to journalists at Asafo, said the boy was living with his uncle in Tema, where he completed the 2019 BSc. You've got to continue the rest of this very heartbreaking one on myjoyonline.com.
And Mama, this is tragic, but I also have to say that because we have created this competition at the basic level or the junior high school level, we've had more pupils doing well because parents have decided to place their children in some of the best private schools in the community near them. And so they are doing better and better each year.
Are they?
So, well, I think so. In terms of the numbers who get the aggregates to enter the best schools.
So there are a lot more qualified students.
Yes, for the best schools. No, I'm not talking generally.
To the Wesley Girls and the Holy Child.
So you see that the 6 ones, the ones keep compounding each year Of course, we're not talking 20, 30 and all that. Well, we're talking about those who tend to qualify enough.
We can later on do an analysis of this, but you know, this story on My Joe Online is quite different. So this is somebody who was placed in a region
far off from
where he would have preferred, right? But family cannot afford to buy. Of course, he won't pay school fees because it's free SHS. But you can't just carry yourself and go to school. You need provisions. You need
probably accommodation if the school doesn't have a boarding, facility. So I mean, and you see, this is the thing you don't realize. For young people at this point, this is their entire life.
Yeah.
The most important thing happening in their life is this movement to the next level.
True.
It is as important as marriage or death or whatever life-changing event can occur to us is. Okay, so that's how important it is to them.
Yeah.
So when it doesn't go well, it seems as if life as they know it is over.
True. I remember me, JSS. I was broken for like a month or more. School started. I said I wanted to go to Mansite or nothing. My father wanted me to go to the Volta region. I had no idea of the schools there. So I can understand. This is really like a breaking point. Yeah, that there has to be a lot of orientation and things like that. We would spend a lot more time and deal with this matter. But we will take you to the Black Star Square pretty shortly. But let's do the newspapers, the papers that we have in the studio.
Let's dash through these headlines real quick. I've got the Daily Guide, the Finder, and the Daily Graphic.
I'll do the Times and the Daily Dispatch.
Okay.
Well, I've got the Ghost business,
the
economy, and the rest.
All right, then. I'll go real quick. Daily Guide first. So, Otumfuo's bombshell. I asked Mahama to accept defeat. EIU predicts Nana 2020 victory. We'll be talking about that a bit later. Stop attacks on police. That's the president speaking. PDS fights back. Yemeni terror suspect on the loose. Oh, Yemeni terror suspect on the loose. That's interesting. Page 6 has the details. We'll talk about that. Pep salutes Liverpool, pledges to fight back. Kotoko beat Etoile. Celebrity hosts Ghana, China golf. Now, I want to do something quickly. Otumfuo's bombshell. I want to read his words, okay, because there's a lot of controversy about what he said and whether he was suggesting that former President Mahama did not want to concede defeat. So here are his words, verbatim, and I quote. Fortunately, the moral authority... start from the beginning. At the conclusion of the last presidential and parliamentary elections, the country stood on the edge of disaster. The United Nations representative and the diplomatic community were aghast and alarmed that Ghana was about to slip down the slope of electoral violence. Fortunately, the moral authority of the palace was at hand. We were able to intervene to persuade the losing candidate to accept his fate and to fly both candidates for a quiet encounter to pave way for a smooth handover. End of quotes. You can make of it what you will. The Finder newspaper, banner headline, Cocoa Board secures $1.3 billion syndicated loan for 2019-2020 crop season. Another cocoa syndicated loan. NPP proposes January 12, 2020 for primaries in constituencies with sitting MPs. Ayawaso West Wogon Commission of Inquiry report ready for publication, and that is according to Kojo Opon-Nkrumah. We saw that press release over the weekend. Gilbert Addy, Bank of Ghana staff accused of corruption in Sipton switch deal, sacked. All right, Daily Graphic next. I won't shield you, President cautions CEOs who commit infractions. Ghana's achievements, combination of traditional political authority, that's according to Asante at the UN. Government submits Ayawaso West Wogon report for gazetting. That's on page 16. Back page real quick. Okra and Arthur's goals silence Etoile. Ash Gold survive Berkane scare at Obuasi. And center spread. Killing the hen that lays golden egg. Ghana's quarry sector in coma. And I think that does it for the Daily Graphic. Real quick, the Ayawaso West Wogon report is out, or the government has released the report and the white paper. Both have been sent to the Associated Press for gazetting and printing. Is there any reason why an electronic copy cannot be circulated in the meantime?
There's no reason why.
Okay, all right, that's it.
If you intercept it, fine.
No, I'm thinking, why doesn't the government just release an electronic copy while we are waiting for the hard copy to be printed? Oh. Why must we wait for a printing process to occur when we are in 2020 and technology allows us to release it electronically at the press of a button? Just a question.
It's just a law, gazetting, I guess.
How long does that take? Can that not also be done at a press of a button?
Definitely. Definitely.
This report is not on a computer somewhere.
Definitely. We have the Ghost Street business. On the front page, stock market loses 4.56 billion Ghana cedi capital in 9 months. That's how far they've gone on the downward spiral. Agro processing projects lead 1D, 1F coming on stream this year, and Cocobot signs 1.3 billion loan syndication deal. On the back page of the Gold Street business, MTN empowers media to champion technology revolution. Okay, so let's go to the new publisher has on the front page. Mahama will lose again. EIU reports Mensah saved Ghana from war, Otumfuo, election 2016. President Kufuor's physician storms Anansi. Now, we also have SHS girl goes naked. Other stories on the front page of the Independent. We have the Independent newspaper. The Independent newspaper says the rains couldn't stop me from joining Ohum Festival, Baumia. The Independent newspaper. You see it soon on the front page. And then we have Ghana Ivory Coast strike first cocoa deals with living income premium. Ekufado's corruption statement. Students want to see more action than talk. The Economy Times. Cocobot signs $1.3 billion loan for cocoa purchase. Prices of goods to remain unaffected by rising transport fares, according to traders. We'll see about that. I don't know how they come to that conclusion. BOG likely to slash down policy rates, we're told. That'll be it. Amavi.
Let's do the Ghanaian Times newspaper. Front page of the Times. Let's end terrorism threats in West Africa. President to ECOWAS leaders. There's an angle on the BBC about real commitments and some monies that African leaders are going to be raising in this fight. Just a little bit of it on the BBC. Here we go. It says African leaders on Saturday announced $1 billion plan to fight the rising problem of jihadist violence in the region at a summit in Burkina Faso. That's not exactly the angle in the Times, though. But the plan to be funded from 2020 to 2024 was announced at the end of the Economic Community Summit of West African states in Ouagadougou, where the ECOWAS nations were joined by Mauritania and Chad. So they've decided to mobilize the financial resources of up to $1 billion for the fight against terrorism. This was announced by Nigeria's President Muhammadu Buhari. Niger's president, I beg your pardon, that's Muhammadu Issoufou. But the angle in here is, I guess, in the spirit of how they've decided to raise $1 billion cedis. It says, let's end terrorism threats in West Africa. President Kufuor, saying that strongly at the summit. Also, Mugabe is formidable warrior. So we saw former President Rawlings leading that delegation from Ghana to Zimbabwe. And of course, Mr. Mugabe was his friend, wasn't he?
Well, I mean, yeah, they especially during the PNDC years, they sort of had a lot of alignment in terms of their political ideology. Yeah, that sort of Pan-Africanist, protectionist, mistrust for the West, Yeah.
So, there was an issue in terms of where he was going to be buried. But thankfully, the family has stepped down on their request. They wanted him to be buried in his hometown. But this, the state wants to bury him you know, like a statesman in a place where heroes are buried, apparently. But there's a condition that the states will have to meet. So I think the body is going to be kept for a while because they have to build a certain structure so they can bury him. Still on the front page of the Ghanaian Times, though, government to publish Ayawaso West Wagon Commission reports, according to the information minister. Interpol declares Yemeni national wanted. Nagrat calls off strike, but we know the branch of NATS that has also declared a strike is not calling it off. They say they are not Nagrats. 8 perish in gory accident in Techiman. Back page of the paper, Kotoko record first leg win over Etoile du Sahel. Ash Gold secure narrow win over Bekani. Is that correct, though?
Don't know.
Let's do the Daily Dispatch. Analysis of population in the former Volta region. So the Dispatch is continuing with this. They've been serializing this analysis of population. And this is former Volta region. So I guess Volta region and Oti combined. Evers make up 74%. Guma, 11%. Guan, 8%. And Akan, 3%. Pentecostal is 26%. Catholic, 12%. Islam, 5%. Is the Dispatch leading us somewhere with all these analyses?
I guess they're trying to get your heads around the election and how, you know, what sort of population centers you will find in each region. Although I don't know how that is supposed to have a bearing on the vote.
Yeah. All right, let's run through the rest of the headlines. We're ready to die to protect Ghana, according to the armed forces. Australia visa scandal report, how a carpenter and trader posed as journalists. Interesting. We abrogated a $56 million contract, EC boss. And basically that's it. Final paper is the Daily Statesman. Front page, $180 billion of Ghana's bauxite, JDM's gift to brother Ibrahim. Economist intelligence units predict 2020 victory for Akufo-Addo. Mahama gave $4.6 billion sweetheart deal to crony Agambere is the banner headline. Muhammadu Buhari gets the same interoperability. No, did I say Buhari? This is the second time. This is Muhammadu Bahumia gets the same interoperability deal for $4.6 million. I beg your pardon. I have to go to Nigeria. Yeah. All right. That's it for the Daily Statesman by way of what's making front page headline. You're done?
So,
did you do your papers?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
So you know the Sipton switch story. I don't know how much of it you remember, but when it first came out that the Bank of Ghana was going to sign a deal with a company to provide interoperability service, so that you can send money from your bank account to mobile money and mobile money
from one network
from one bank account to another and so forth. Yeah, from one mobile money network to another and all of that. Bank of Ghana was going to give out the contract on this for $4.6 billion over a number of years. And everybody was alarmed. I mean, 4.6 billion.
Yeah.
So actually it's 4.6 billion cedis, which converts to, I think, $1 billion. So, you know, there was a lot of talk about it. We started doing some work on the Super Morning Show back then to find out who owns this Sipton switch. And of course, it all led back to Roland Agambire and people associated with him, you know, a number of shell companies. So Sipton Switch was owned by 3 companies. Those 3 companies were each one owned by another 2 companies or whatever. And in the end, it all, you know, came back to
Roland like group of companies.
Say that again.
Group of companies belonging to
Roland Agambire. And you know, we were quite alarmed, and so we started to dig and trying to find out how this deal could possibly cost $1 billion. And we spoke to several people who are experts in the field. And some of them even told us that this thing could be done for $50 million. $50 million. You know? Sorry, $500,000. I'm saying 50 million. $500,000 could build a switch that can create interoperability. So I wasn't surprised when Dr. Baumia came along and the deal was issued for 4.6 million US dollars instead of 1 billion US dollars. But I still don't understand what went into the original deal and why it was that expensive.
All right, we have to take a breather. We've got AM Talk, so I guess this is to be continued on AM Talk right after sports. Stay with us. You're watching the AM Show.